Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a fresh session or fresh webinar hosted by Supply Chain Talks. Most of you know who I am. My name is Panali. I am the founder and CEO of Supply Chain Talks. Today, our topic of the webinar is basically transforming logistics for a sustainable future. Saudi Arabia Vision 2030. So we all know that Vision 2030 is the defining ground or the defining pillars for everything that is happening in the kingdom. And based on that, logistics is one of the center of attention or the key topics within the Vision 2030. In today's session, I have three greats of the logistics industry of the kingdom. I will ask them to join me and they will introduce themselves. So let me bring them onto the stage, into the webinar. So, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. So with me we have Wael Kabbani, we have Haris Ali, we have Charles Sarkis. He prefers to be known as Charlie rather than Charles. So we will talk to him in that manner. So I think Wael just disconnected, but we will wait for him to come back. If we can start off, Haris, if you can quickly give us an introduction about yourself, then we will move to Wael and then to Charles. Please, Haris.
Thank you, Noman, for extending, first of all, this invitation and making me part of this distinguished panel. It is indeed a pleasure to be here, and I would also like to thank all the attendees, for being part of this event. I'm actually excited to hear insightful perspective from my co-panelists. They're experienced people, I've always learned, some of the great things, from them. So a bit about my background. I've been immersed in the logistics industry for the past 2 decades, collaborating with some of the most accomplished professionals in supply chain and logistics. And a good part of my experience I've gained while working at Agility and LSC Warehousing Logistics and Services Company. Over the course of my career, I've been exposed to work with some of the people, in solving some of the most complex problems, in freight forwarding, warehousing, and trucking. And that has actually, given me the kind of experience, that I believe, today we are witnessing here in Saudi Arabia, the transformation part or the progress the market is making in terms of, logistics. So currently, I have the privilege of leading the finance function for the GCC region at GS Logistics, and I look forward to contributing to this discussion and sharing valuable insights from my experiences. Once again, thank you for having me, and I'm excited to have an engaging and informative discussion.
My utmost pleasure to have you here. We will hold on. While I did not bring you online, but Wael is here. So Wael, if you can introduce yourself, and then we will move to Charlie.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Noman, thank you very much for this webinar. It's an interesting subject. I've been in the logistics industry for over 25 years. I've led multinationals and domestic companies in Saudi Arabia and in Lebanon. I'm currently the managing director of Kabbani Logistics Services in Beirut. It's nice to put it into perspective, the discussion, specifically really highlighting the location of Saudi Arabia in terms of it's a crossroad between Asia, Africa, and Europe. We have over 10% of the world trade goes through the Red Sea. So it's very interesting to discuss how Vision 2030 will take advantage of the location of Saudi Arabia and the vision of the leadership to position Saudi as a leading logistics hub in the region. Thank you again.
My pleasure. Pleasure. Last but not least, for the introductions, my dear friend Charlie.
Thank you so much again for having me on this panel. It's always a pleasure to meet Wael and Haris, colleagues in the industry, and I'm sure leaders who we myself in my beginnings, we learned a lot and we used to look up to them. Myself, after several years, now it is two decades for me in the supply chain and logistics in the kingdom. But since 2012, we founded the Motion Supply Chain, and our aim was how can we have a local player rise from the kingdom to the world. And it comes greatly with the alignment of the Vision 2030, whereby we wanted to expand our logistics and our offices. In contrary to all the global players who are now coming to the kingdom, our side is now to go from the kingdom to the world. So basically, I've been attending many international panels, and lately one of them is in Amsterdam, whereby the subject of sustainability was raised, and everyone was looking about the green supply chain, sustainability, and how things are moving forward with global warming and many points. So I'm looking forward, to exchange opinions, learn from our colleagues, how things are the best. And for sure, logistics is at the pillar of the Saudi vision, and for sure, we are in the right place currently to move and be part of this global change.
Perfect. Thanks, Charlie. Uh, you know, my association with logistics have been always there, me being working the supply chain side of the industry. But logistics was a topic that I always liked to stay away. But when I started supply chain talks and I started my consultancy and different topics in that, somehow logistics became the prime area where I am involved in with my partners, with my clients. So one way or the other, I ended up in logistics, and I'm very fortunate for that. That because it helped me, or it basically guided me to the three of you. And now the three of you, I consider myself my friends. While and Haris, I met in Riyadh many months back. Charlie and I are in Jeddah now. Haris is also in Jeddah, so we meet, we talk occasionally, and everything. So it's always nice to have such powerhouses of logistics in your contact list on your WhatsApp list. So it's always good to be connected with such people. So it's a pleasure. It's an humbling moment for me to have all three of you in this webinar of mine. So I would jump right into the main topic of today's discussion, which is that of Vision 2030. So again, I will put the question to all three of you. You take your turns in responding. That how is Vision 2030 reshaping the logistics landscape in Saudi Arabia? It is a major topic, major highlight, especially with the how even the ministry was renamed from Ministry of Transport to Ministry of Transport and Logistics Services, and a lot of it's being done in that. So your take, guys. Whoever would like to take this question first, please.
I have no problem.
Okay, over to you, Chair.
Well, let us look into the vision and how the progress of the Vision 2030. And if you can see, there were steps. And the latest pillar was, as I said in the beginning, was the logistics and supply chain, because the position of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in the middle of the map, whereby you're going to be linking east and west and the continent, is helping a lot, in positioning. And at the same time, by seeing the global players coming into the market, and everyone's who wants to add value to the kingdom, this was really a big move. Many names, since if you take me from 2005, there were a couple of multinational companies who were really servicing or having offices in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, whereby companies like Globe Express, our colleagues Harris, and many other companies were already established here, and they will be servicing the kingdom, as I still remember in my earlier career. So big move to move to attract all the global players to start here. But this is also challenging, because also at the same time there is the rise of the local players, whereby many companies locally are expanding their wings, and doing many big things to add value to the supply chain in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So if you look at it that way, Vision 2030 was a big boost for the globe and the logistics players, for them to see the real value and the real market of Saudi Arabia, and the importance of having Saudi at the center of the logistics.
Thank you, Charlie. Amazing insight. I would request now, while if you can also pitch in, and then Haris, if you can also later afterward, please. While you're on mute, sorry.
I would I would definitely second what Charlie said and what I mentioned earlier on the position of Saudi and how it links the West and the major projects that are being launched in Saudi Arabia to ensure that the Vision 2030 is reached by 2030 and hopefully earlier. Um, the vision is truly reshaping the whole landscape of logistics in Saudi Arabia. Charlie discussed how currently local Saudi companies or companies which started in Saudi Arabia are expanding in the region, in the globe, which is where we have a couple of examples of that, and they're being very, very successful by leveraging their presence in Saudi and the major volumes that they can move, the infrastructure that they can build. We've Harris and I we've witnessed, or we've led a company whereby it was a local company, but a lot of multinationals used to subcontract their domestic work to this local company. So this is where the local companies were gaining uh, experience and insight and exposure from international companies, serving them, but at the same time learning on how to expand internationally. The vision is transforming the landscape. We've seen major infrastructure projects. We've seen digitalization. We've seen, I mean, today Saudi is one of the best e-government, have the best e-government systems in the world, and they're trying to apply this to the different sectors. We've seen a lot of private sector participation, and now we're seeing really massive numbers. The latest deal between PIF and the SV, if I remember correctly, was $10 billion, which is really a huge number for the industry. And last but not least, what Charlie has mentioned in his latest trip to Amsterdam is sustainability. And this is where I think a couple of days back, we've also seen, for example, Nakel starting their green fleet. So we're seeing really huge progress and very fast progress on all fronts. Over to you, Harris.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wael.
Yeah, actually, I'll just add on what Charlie and Wael said. But let us understand that Saudi geographical location is a key here. It has always been a pivotal factor in the logistic landscape, and I think under this Vision 2030, in particularly the programs that are there, like National Industrial Development Logistics Program, the country is strengthening its position as a global logistics hub and investing heavily in infrastructure development, road networks, and technology to modernize logistics and drive economic diversification. But at the same time, it's preparing itself, its readiness, to house, some of the big investments, giga projects, that is all going to take place, or perhaps, we'll see some of them getting implemented by 2030. So this is where they are preparing for it. The infrastructure is there, and that's where the opportunity lies with the local companies and, of course, the multinational companies that are investing in this country, to actually position themselves and align with the Vision 2030 program. So we've already seen, that while all is being done, right, it all started, back in 2018, 2019, or perhaps let's say the baseline was set, I think, with the indicators in 2021, right? And with all these reforms in full swing, right, we've already witnessed that how the kingdom's, rank was elevated to 38th position in the World Bank's Logistics Performance Index, right? So that was a remarkable advancement, from the 55th position that was there in 2018. So that is actually evident of the efforts that the government is doing, that and how the private sector is responding to it. So I believe the Vision 2030 is actually playing a big fundamental role in reshaping the logistics landscape in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you, Harris. You mentioned one point about the modernization and technology, and one of the pillars of Vision 2030 is the digitization and the modernization or use of technology for the logistics sector. So my next question would be that what is the role that technology is playing in modernization of logistics within the kingdom, especially in context of sustainability and the Vision 2030? So I think we either if we take the same thing or we request Wild to first pitch in, then Charlie or Haris, please. Wild, please unmute.
Yeah, technology is a pillar, or is the main pillar of logistics today. Today, a lot of logistics companies consider themselves technology companies, because without technology, there is no way you can really succeed in logistics. Now, in technology, we have different, let's say, sectors or things that we need to focus on. And again, we're seeing a lot of development in technology specifically for logistics. We've seen a lot of blockchain initiatives happening all over in logistics. We're seeing how artificial intelligence is playing a big role in optimizing route planning and analyzing demand fluctuations, etc. So today, artificial intelligence is being able to analyze data much faster, give us way better options. When you optimize route planning, you're doing a lot to sustainability as well. So you're saving time, you're being a bit cleaner, etc., etc. So with artificial intelligence, also we're seeing a lot of developments. We've seen a couple of examples of robotics as well in Saudi Arabia, whether with manufacturers or with logistics companies. It's not yet really widespread a lot, but we're seeing again this is developing. And of course, last but not least is data analytics, which today is key for any industry, not only logistics. So technology is moving very fast. Technology is the pillar of logistics, and if a logistics company doesn't keep up with technology, it cannot succeed.
And I will take it from there, actually.
Yeah, please, Charlie.
It's not only technology is moving fast, it's the world is moving very fast. And this is really something. And let us talk about technology adaptation, which is becoming exponential. Let's take, for example, remember the Nokia when it was raised in 2007? And it took, and there was, the Apple, mobile. That can you imagine in 1 year and a half became number one mobile? So how things is moving. And on top of it, if we look into the subject that we wanted to discuss, which is energy sector and where technology is, everyone is moving fast. It's becoming pillar. Yes, we are into technology business. We're into the fast things moving. And you need to understand that technology and AI is not something, that if you see many companies, technology is not good, we're going to be firing people. No. Why not taking the positive side of technology, where you are reducing cost, reducing issues, as we said, with the blockchain concept, you have more data compliances, you have quicker movement, taking more faster decision, having green solutions. Technology is helping us, to move towards sustainability and green supply chain in an easier way. And at the same time, developing, and increasing our volume and capacity with the existing team. Every company wants to grow. Every company, I'm sure if I talk to Haris or I talk to Wael or Noman, in any company, see everyone wants to grow. But technology is one of the elements that is going to help you grow. Without it, you will not grow. And with how the world is moving, if you don't have the right technology in place and system in place and processes in place, trust me, you will not be able to make your customers happy in the supply chain, and you end up losing and you end up being out of the market very fast. So yes, technology adaptation is exponential, and we need to focus on it because it's really important for everyone to be looking in every area. We can name hundreds of systems, hundreds of technology areas. So we need to also be careful how we use it and how we implement it in order to grow.
I'm actually
Perfect.
going to,
Thanks.
I'm going to second while and Charlie on this part, but I'm looking at it from a different angle, right? So if you look at the strategy part of 2030 vision, right? So technology is actually the enabler, okay, which is going to help, implement this vision, in meeting the goals that has been set by the government, right? But at the same time, right, so what happens is we just keep on talking about the infrastructure part, right? So one of the thing, infrastructure is the technology part. We've already seen government taking initiatives like, like they have already implemented 5G, right? That's gonna increase the speed of internet, right? And gonna help the businesses, in tracing and tracking, right? The other things, right? But digitization actually in the middle of this entire thing, right, is rapidly getting ground in Saudi Arabia. Why? The government is providing all the impetuses, like bringing in cloud companies like Alibaba, okay, Microsoft, in Saudi Arabia with public and private partnerships, right? But the idea is actually to help enable SMEs and businesses, okay, to scale up their businesses and to catch up the activity level that the government, is producing through these giga projects and all of those things. And of course, there are some examples that have been set by the government, like if you see initiatives like FASA, Bayan are all encouraging the use of digital platforms, which is actually driving growth in the sector, and actually, creating ease of doing business, increased efficiency and global competitiveness, which is one of the goals of this vision, right? But at the same time, the focus is on implementing AI, blockchain, robotics, and automation, at the client side or in the logistics sector, where the government is actually providing the canvas, the landscape, and which I believe is as an important pillar, in this entire discussion. When we talk about 2030 vision, or we talk about logistics, or perhaps we can talk about other vision realization programs.
Perfect. I would pitch in a little bit that over the past couple of weeks, I have witnessed, or I have had session with some very interesting, technology starters, which are focused on the logistics side of things, that how they can utilize the data to make it more efficient. And I'm very, excited that soon they will be also launching themselves within the kingdom. Like one is by the name of Load E, which they are planning to come in first quarter next year. Another one is under works as well, which is an offshoot of Retailu, and they are bringing in their own technology solution for optimizing the delivery routes and optimizing less fuel consumption and minimizing fleet sizes for companies. So things are coming up. So the technology part of logistics is pretty exciting, which is coming up, and automations and everything, they are already there. And it's a good thing that companies are continuously adopting and moving towards that. So, which is a good thing. And the point that also what Charlie touched and touched with technology is my second and next question is that in what ways are sustainability and green logistics being prioritized in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and how can businesses adapt to these principles in their operations? So, Haris, you take the first
See,
attempt on this
yeah,
ask.
yeah, sure. See, I'm looking at this thing, as an ecosystem, which is still in emerging phase, right? It's not just Saudi Arabia. If you look at into the entire world, right, everyone is, taking initiatives there, right? But if you look at the ecosystem, inside Saudi Arabia, right? So what they've done is they've taken certain measures. They've launched Saudi Green Initiatives, Middle East Green Initiatives, which are quite ambitious national and regional programs that aims to combat climate change, improve quality of life, and protect the environment for future generations. These initiatives include targets such as reducing emissions, increasing renewable energy, planting trees, and protecting land and sea. Okay, but when you see, from a logistics angle, right, those are merely mitigations, right? We're still not, reached to the point where we can say that we've started witnessing, usage of, electrical trucks and all of those things, for sure. The infrastructure is still in the pipeline for the development phase, right? But this will take some time. I still believe, that the ecosystem needs to be strengthened by the government, and we've already seen, the policy reforms are also there, but that requires a complete policy framework. So, for example, today, if we see the NIDLP also supports adoption of green logistics solution. Like optimizing routes, as what we've discussed earlier, reducing waste. But again, what I really want to see in this sector is, a policy framework incentivizing private sector, such as special tax incentives for using electric trucks, building green facilities. Some sort of concession needs to be there for the private sector to adopt, and then start, aligning, their priorities alongside these sustainability goals. So that's what my take on this subject is.
Perfect. Perfect. Charles, over to you.
Look, sustainability is key part of Saudi Arabia vision. We know that. And the main initiative is, you can see the diversity in their energy sector, which is usually they want to go by 50% energy will come only from renewable resources by 2030. This is, if we say, the goal. Hala. When we see the goal, usually we need to see, as Har said, there is an ecosystem to be prepared. But how to do it? If you want to do it, look to the world, how it's moving. You see, first of all, to beat climate change with CO2 emission and you see that transportation is a major part. You see, it represents around 20% of the global CO2 emission globally. It's not, we know that there is industry, we know that there is, for example, buildings and. But if you look for them, if they tackle only the fastest one, which is transportation, we already discussed that energy sector is moving exponentially fast. If you look, let's look, for example, the car industry globally, where you can see the increase of electrical car versus the combustion. And this is, if you see the trend, how it's moving and how fast it's moving, the future is clear that the world is moving 80-90% to electrical cars. Now, if we want to see at the same time, electric trucks are just 3 to 5 years ahead. They are not far. If you see the global companies, how they are moving, the projection, the forecasting, it's showing you. And if you look to this percentage, this can be turned to zero. They are looking into this point. Transportation, 20% nearly is road, which is the CO2. And either though there is air freight, sea freight, and rail, but these are minimal, 2%, 1.5%, if you see the global numbers. But this is very important for us to see. Saudi Arabia, in extreme, they are aligned. If you see, preparing, the market for manufacturing of electrical cars, all the global car manufacturers are coming here. If you were watching only a couple of weeks back, the Future Investment Initiative, the 7th edition, major discussions were on sustainability and green electrical business and AI.
Yeah, that's true.
Impressive. And how you see this, as we discussed, AI will go to reduce the carbon, road optimization. They are all interaligned between technology, the energy part, working with mega companies coming and investing here. So, and each country will own his own initiatives by the priority of their own infrastructure. You cannot tell, I need today 100,000, electrical car, but while the grids cannot hold it. But at the same time, the reverse logistic part of it, which is, the batteries and it's a big subject. At least everyone now knows the major guidelines for this sustainability, and you can start by your own office, by your own warehousing. And if each company will take its own initiative at its own scale, you will be seeing lots of progress. And from us, for example, last week we get an offer. How can we have our warehouses, green, by having solar panels on top of all the warehouses? Well, is more experienced than me in this, and this can generate really a good saving, especially when we have 24,000 square meter of ambient facility going to 50,000. This is a big number, and this is very easy to see and how we can maintain it. So yes, as I said again, Saudi Arabia, it has a big role in it. They are leading actually the global warming things, as you can see in all the news, by having this CCE, circular. Many initiatives are there, but I'm sure It's a matter of responsibility and to be aligned, because you need to align your current business with, the climate challenges, the today energy things, and how we can lead toward a sustainable future.
True.
Thank you, Charlie. While, if you would like to add in, please.
Yeah, sure. Definitely what Charlie Harris have mentioned or have stated have covered most of the subjects. In terms of infrastructure, yes, we still have a lot to go for us, for example, to be able to really increase electric cars in Saudi. But there are a couple of contracts that have already been signed to improve that. Another thing is the incentives that Harris talked about. For example, when you have solar panels, if I'm not mistaken, this has not been the case yet in Saudi. You can connect to the grid, and whenever you have extra power, you can give it back to the grid, and you get paid. So that goes back also to Charlie's point. That will give you more power on the grid to be able to support the expansion of sustainable solutions and green solutions. In terms of solar panels in logistics, yes, definitely it helps a lot. Again, this is where multinationals have had their fingerprint on the subject, because those companies which have had global strategies of improving their carbon footprint and showing green solutions have come and have requested this to happen. The first project we've done was for a multinational company, whereby we basically established or fixed the solar panels on the warehouses, and it was a great solution. And this is where it's highly recommended for ambient warehouses. For I think it's still a bit of a long shot for cold chain, because the demand is or the consumption is very high and will need much.
Yeah.
But with the improvement in technology, even the panels are getting smaller. You're being able to capture more by panel. So we're seeing a lot of initiatives in Saudi, and as Charlie mentioned, it is at the core of Vision 2030, and they're also moving quite fast on the subject.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, we talked about all these different topics and everything, but being the industry greats that you guys are, again, I would request you if you can share certain successful transformation projects that either you have been part of or you would like to mention from a perspective that how Vision 2030 has been there to change the landscape within the kingdom. So Haris, first, over to you.
See, this is still the start, right, of this entire journey of vision realization, right? So, but what I would like to mention more here on the side of the government, right? So, what initiatives have been taken? What are the success stories, right? So, if you see, the positive results have already emerged, from the government's ongoing improvements to automate the import-export process. The implementation of an electronic system at seaports and airports not allows for efficient shipment tracking management, right? It has cut down, a lot of time, right? So with less paperwork required, the customs declaration process has also sped up, right? So average declaration clearance times have reduced down to just 2 days at seaports and 1 day at the airports, So that has actually made the things, more predictable and reliable, when it comes down to, doing business and doing logistics, right? So these are some of the success stories. If you look into the logistics part, we've already seen, like a lot of the people, they're announcing, going with the adoption of EVs, and a lot of the companies undergoing through, a lot of, transformation, digitalization, right, just to align with them with, and some of them has actually, created success stories, right? One of the things, like I came across two companies, they've created efficient warehouses, right? And one of the warehouses facility in King Abdullah Economic City, that's an automated storage and retrieval, storage warehouse, that's completely automated with container stackers and all of those. That's kind of facilities where you can see, that these are the things which have actually gotten aligned with what is going to happen in next 5-6 years. I believe those are those success stories, right? So far, what I know
of. Thanks, Haris. Charlie, success
Well,
stories, my friend.
Well, all the projects in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia are going towards, into, logistics at its core. Check anyone. If you say the line or Neom City or, everything is around logistics. So if you take the projects as around logistics, so how come that every company now, we have many companies, many projects moving on in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, already Haris has mentioned the evolution of the logistics and the door-to-door services in the kingdom, which is great in the past 5 to 6 years due to technology, due to the companies how they're evolving, having our ground services level increased to the maximum, which is also a success story. We can see SLA SAL actually now it went to IPO, so one of the leading partners. But if you go and at the same time, Saudi Cargo, Saudi Airlines, now with how it's moving, to make sure that it's becoming a hub as a gateway, to the globe, and how to create, C plus air, services. Many things we are seeing the evolution. Every day you hear a new service and new news every single day,
every day.
and still we are at the beginnings. So at the same time, there are lots of, you have to see the world is ahead. Some people say, oh, there are many services that you don't have it in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's true. But at the same time, whatever's happening in the past 5 or 10 years, other countries took them decades and maybe, century. That's the change that people are not noticing, and they want to value, or it's not true. We are living at the center of the change, and we are watching the change from inside, not just like any or all multinational. I'm telling you, in Europe, what's happening? The main discussion was Saudi Arabia. And everyone wants to come, especially in the e-commerce business, to Saudi Arabia. This is a success by itself. What Amazon is doing, what Noon is doing, and the shift that's happening in e-commerce, this is by itself success. And yet, it's still at the earlier stage.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
if I want to name, I don't have a specific project, if you want to tell you, Noman, but it's all together. It's a whole country. It's the youth. It's everyone. And for me, actually, if you're going to tell me, one of the main successful things the government did was the Saudi Logistic Academy. Saudi Arabia are among the youngest population. And myself, I'm working with them. We are having candidates here. We are supporting, because it's everyone, turning and learning logistics, academies, Jeddah, Riyadh, Dammam, training young generation who coming from university, from different places, and integrating them in the logistics.
That was the right action, the right direction, actually. Yeah.
Yes, I will pick up from what Charlie said, and then we'll go to Weil. You're right. Again, one of the success stories from my perspective is how easy that the government has made to attain the right level of education as well. May it be through the academy, may it be the international certification that they have made it kind of free, that you pass the test, you get reimbursed for all the expenses that you have done. So effectively now all the young, talented Saudi youngsters, they are getting their certification, they're learning about it, and they are more and more, the base is really strong right now. So from me, this is a success story, and Vision 2030 itself has proven itself to be very big success story, because everything is coming from that. Just last week, I got contacted by someone that they would like to have a discussion with me, and from a perspective that another international company who does not have operations within the kingdom, they want to enter the kingdom. So they want to have a discussion on that point. So again, as Charlie, you said that companies coming into the kingdom is itself a very big success story for the for Vision 2030, for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for the government and everything, and both the private and the government sector.
Yes, you're 100%. It is there, and it was how much it's easy now to open a company as a foreign investment. So
Yeah.
everything is there again.
Yep.
Having MISA in place, having all the setup and infrastructure in place, it's going. And I always compare, the 3x3 cube. The 3x3 cube is so simple to do it. Some people, tend to look at it in a way that if I want to have one area, which is the red area, I don't want to touch the other area, even though it's a process. And whatever you can see, it's a process. Milestone after milestone after milestone after milestone to reach, to have the cube all together, clear and having all the colors in place. It's simple. And I tell them because I learned it my way. It's a 7 steps process. I'm not that fast, like the people you can see them on TV 6-7 seconds. It takes me a couple of minutes, no problem, but still learning, But it's a process again to show it to people that anything can be done if you have the goals, and the roadmap is clear in the Vision 2030. We have to follow it up, participate between the 3 stakeholders, which is the government, the private sector and international, because I'm sure this is very important to align.
So I will bring in Weil now. So Weil, if you can again give your input, and as Charles has mentioned the collaboration between the different sectors, then we will directly ask you to go to the next topic as well. So Weil, over to you.
Okay, so if I might add to what Charlie said in terms of the attractiveness of Saudi Arabia and the ease of setting up there, we're not talking only logistics. All kind of sectors, companies all over the world are flocking into Saudi Arabia to do business there because it's one of the highest growing economies in the world currently. The major projects are all there, and the government is basically doing everything possible to facilitate, to improve the culture of the locally, to improve, as you've said, you and Charlie, the training, the support and trainings and education, etc., etc. So all of this is diverging into a real progression of the sector. Bearing in mind that even the Crown Prince, there is no interview where he's not mentioning logistics. He is personally the chairman of the National Committee of Transportation and Logistics. So that shows you how much at the core of the vision is logistics. In terms of examples, we have a lot of examples, and a lot of examples which are government and private public sector projects. You have King Abdullah Economic City and King Abdullah Port. Harris just gave an example there, and how they're developing the city, how the port is playing a major role in attracting international shipping companies. So we've seen, if you look at customs in the past 10 years, or even in the past 5 years, at the speed of modernization of customs, it's mind-boggling. It's amazing. The improvement we're seeing is happening at rocket speed. Whatever you would have considered it would take 20 years is taking 5 years in Saudi. So that shows the commitment, that shows the seriousness of attaining the vision.
So true. While you mentioned the Saudi customs, how they have developed, and I always feel proud about it, because I remember it was in 2021 that I did the interview with Loy Masabe, who was the deputy minister with the Saudi customs. At that time, he was with them, and in my session, that was the very first time in which he actually mentioned all the initiatives that are being taken in the customs authority with digitization and technology, and now we are all experiencing that. So true. So the last 2-3 years for logistics within the kingdom have been phenomenal. They have been simply phenomenal. How quickly things have changed, the legislations have come, the support from the government has come. And I will now come to my next point, where again Harith has mentioned multiple times that collaboration with or the support from the government needs to be there as well. So my next question would be that, again, how important is collaboration for logistics to thrive, to further blossom within the kingdom? So Haris, you take this please first.
See, the collaboration part is really important here, and the collaboration is there are different sets of collaborations, right? So a collaboration between the government agencies within ministries, right? We've already seen, right, that how they were able to implement the first program, connecting and coordinating between airports, seaports, and Ministry of Transport, right? They've done this part, right? This required a lot of coordination, collaboration. We've already seen the result and fruit of what they've achieved. So FASA was implemented, one other thing. Then Bayan. Okay. So similarly, they have now launched unified logistics license, right, through logistic portal, right? So again, it's a unified portal where you can get all the licenses for a logistics company, which was not the case earlier. So that is kind of the collaboration the government needs to do now, and they're doing it. There are evidences of it, right? There are success stories for it, right? They're doing it, to provide ease of doing business, for the private sector or for the logistics sector, right? But at the same time, right, a lot of funding is required when it comes to the infrastructure part, developing ports, expanding freight capacities, right? So if we see in the last couple of months, there have been lately a lot of announcements where we've seen collaboration, where we've seen partnerships between public and private sector, right, in financing those initiatives, in constructing facilities, building free zones, and all of those things. This is what is required now. This is the stage where a lot of partnerships are going to happen, a lot of construction is going to happen, a lot of infrastructure upgradation will take place, and after those, it will be followed by the activities where the quality, where the technology adoption, and all of those things will be tested. So I believe whatever is being done now, it's being done in the right direction, and it's all now in the hands of private sector to actually step up, right, and start aligning their priorities with the government things, and start utilizing the incentives or things provided by the government to become an active part of this transformation journey.
Perfect. Thanks. While if you can also give your perspective, please.
Yes, for sure. I mean, the examples of that Harris just gave really show how the government is trying to understand from the private sector what their needs are. The government looks at the challenges that are happening, or the challenges in the country, and are trying to bridge both things. During the discussion, we've touched a lot on different collaborations between the government, and I gave the example of the latest JV of DSV with NEOM, if I'm not mistaken.
PIF. With PIF.
Yeah, with PIF. I mean, we've seen endless projects that are happening in the logistics sphere. We've seen the master plan that the Crown Prince has announced not long ago.
It's massive.
The master, sorry.
It's massive. It's massive. Yeah. Please.
Exactly. So that again, that will. I mean, when you have such a master plan and when you execute such a plan, there is no way you don't take the role that you're working towards. So we're not seeing, goals as Charlie earlier said when we just started. Okay, we put the plan and it's a beautiful plan, but if we don't see the concrete steps in making that plan happen, and we won't be very hopeful. However, in this case, we're seeing the milestones, very serious milestones, and they're being achieved one after the other, and we're seeing the benefits. We're directly reaping the benefits of what has been or what is being achieved here.
Benefits at all level. Well,
definitely.
And if we can see it, if we can see this collaboration to be added, you see it at all level. If you take the leadership, the government is setting the, let's say, the guidelines. The private sector is being, entrusted, and the trust of the market is to invest. What if more than, and after the private sector, you see the banking sector behind them? Trust me, we are into supply chain and logistics and in the market. If in the past you want to go and have a simple question, let's say to apply for an overdraft for the facility, as any global businesses sometimes to use facilities, just imagine nowadays service industries are allowed to be having, facilities. In the past were only products. If like LC opening and doing things. Now they are understand, the banking sector itself understand the importance of backing the pillar of logistics and logistic companies in the Kingdom of Saudi, either by going helping them to have, lands and to building warehouses and facility for long-term, profits. At the same time, how to turn, your international, trade and in services. Again, in service, not buying goods and having, man, it's, you see all of them are collaborating. And this gives a boost to the market, boost for the investors, boost for clients. And in the end of the day, the end consumer is happy. You see the progress on customers and young companies who are coming and opening, which is, as logistics, we serve trading companies, we serve establishment. We are here to be between the buyer and the seller. We can see that the export is moving. The direction of the export in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is being tremendous. At the same time, the import is becoming much and much easier. Different committees are in place, starting from different places like SFDA, like, whatever Saudi Arabia has led in this area by itself is impressive compared to the compliance, regulation, and to lead it. So it's a mutual that everyone is talking to everyone, and in an organized way, in an organized platform, that's where you end up with solid result. Latest one was the C plus Air services that it was done, an example, and I was reading a couple of days back under Al Mawani. Look, which is usually it's supposed to be, this is very old, but now they made, the, as we say, the infrastructure and the platform to have a transit bayan. A shipment will arrive to the seaport. We truck it to airport on the bonded trucks, and we fly it to any place. Just imagine this kind of service if you do it between Europe and, as we say, Europe and the Americas into the Jeddah port, and from there you take it to the airport, or the opposite. Let's bring from Asia or Far East business into Dammam, and from Dammam we fly it back to any place in the world. So, you see many services will soon be, available, and we are working heavily on these, to align with them.
See, you gave a very interesting example, Charlie, because just 2 days back I was discussing the same with our mutual friend. I think all of us, he's a mutual friend to all of us, Farooq from LogiPoint.
Yes, right. It's very important. It's really
exactly
important
because
to have these
I was
bonded
discussing
areas.
the same with him because I saw an ad on LinkedIn. Again, suddenly, the ads of DSV are very evident on LinkedIn right now. So they were advertising their service from Jebel Ali to Jeddah Seaport to the Jeddah Airport. So I was mentioning to Farooq, you guys have been doing this for quite some time. So Farooq clarified to me, yes, the difference is the Jebel Ali to Jeddah Seaport, but yes, LogiPoint, they have been doing the transit picking it up from the seaport and then taking it to the transit bayan and everything. So good point, because was discussing the same 2 days back.
Listen, to that as well, the support of NIDLIP to the logistics sector. I mean, you're talking again, if we're talking about government collaboration with the private sector, when they added logistics to the NIDLIP platform, it has also been very good. It supported the logistics sector. And again, we're not talking. Charlie has mentioned banks, yes, and we have also government institutions that are financing now logistics companies and helping them grow, and as well as the initiative of PIF. PIF is also moving forward and trying to push logistics companies and help them and create local champions, etc.
See, not
We
just
hope
that,
so.
not just that.
Yeah.
Over the years, in the last 2 years at least, we have seen a lot of innovative startups also coming in the warehousing and logistics segment. And I think one of the key or most prominent one is, if I may take the name correct, Salasa. Fine.
Yes.
So Salasa is doing well. Then there are smaller ones, which is VKeep and smart storage solutions and everything. So a lot is happening, and again, this is the kind of support that is happening from not just the government but the private sector, private equity funds, the VCs, and everything. It is supporting the young talent of the kingdom. May it be the locals, may it be the expats, that they see a potential of doing business within the kingdom, and it is giving them positive returns on that. And we are coming to a close. So my last question, or the last topic would be and I will ask all of you to define one challenge or one opportunity that you see in the coming years for logistics in Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So let's start with Charlie, please. One challenge, one opportunity.
Let us talk on the challenge. Opportunities are endless, and I see it that way. To be honest, on when it comes, the challenge is, the integration of the Saudi Arabian, regulatories and compliances with the international law. It's very important. For example, internationally on the forwarder business, and I'm sure Harris will help me out, is FIATA. And the body of the Freight Forwarder Association and the rules and regulations. And it was one of my topics when I was in Munich, when we were attending the global logistics and exhibitions in last May. Is one of the main topics that how come I want to have regulatories, and really to make sure that all the players are abiding by the rules. And this is to attract really international companies, because international companies wants to come and open here. At the same time, you have the rise of the local giants, to be fair. And at the same time, there are some, I will not say illegal, it's not called, non-compliant players. So you need to have a common ground rules whereby, it defines, the cause and, the results that any customer will not suffer. And at the same time, no investor or no companies like forwarding businesses that will also end up in troubles. Because, it's very important, to make sure that the rules are available, and at the same time, to have the right licenses in place. It's true that if you can see, Noman, you said it, that the government and the Ministry of Transport, they change, even though the trade license, to name it, to logistics and transport,
Logistics
not
services.
anymore.
Logistics
Exactly.
services. Yeah.
So, but in order to acquire it, I'm sure that not just only money, there is a certain cap. You should put a guarantees. You should put a degrees, the top management, what are the degrees. I think it will be a great example to see the insurance and the reinsurance industry, whereby, it became perfect. And who is the most important, part of the stakeholder who benefit? End user.
Yes.
So everyone is becoming, part of this. And so the main challenge is the regulatories, to have one platform to abide. And I don't know how much time it will take to make sure that, all the companies abide by certain rules.
Perfect. I will go to Haris and then will request Weil to make the closing remarks. So Haris, over to you.
Yeah, I'll second what Charlie said, right? So I believe the regulatory reforms are very much important, to protect and provide the level playing field to all the stakeholders here. That's required, desperately right now. Okay, because a lot of funding is actually coming to the kingdom, right? Which needs protection. That's number one. Number two, of course, the market needs to move in synchronization with each other, right? So as Charlie mentioned about the insurance, there are insurance products which are not there in the market, right? And a lot of the foreign companies, right? They actually have the leverage, to get the insurance policies outside, right? Or the covers outside, but the local companies who are actually, in the emergent stage, they struggle, big time on this front. So of course, the market needs to move in synchronization, and I believe, this is actually being addressed by the government themselves. I believe there are certain committees under MOT, Ministry of Transport, and Logistics Services, right, where those committees are addressing those concerns, right, and they are writing all the points, that what are the points which needs to be prioritized at this stage, and how they can create subcommittees, to address these concerns. But with the same, one of the point that I see the challenges here in the market is, the kind of progress that we're witnessing here. Actually, I'm not sure whether the workforce, in the kingdom is getting the right skill to catch up that progress. Okay, or what if, after 4 or 5 years we're always going to have that gap, right? So I believe the government has already started, investing in training and education programs for the locals. Okay, but it really needs to get up. Okay, the workforce is required, and a really big workforce would be required in coming years. Are we ready for that? Are we ready to, get the right workforce, after 3 4 years in the market? Or we are going to go back again in the same, vicious cycle of, having problems, with the workforce? I believe that's the challenge. So I think the future of logistics in Saudi is both challenging, and at the same time it's promising, right? And the opportunities are endless, as Charlie has mentioned, right? So that's from my side.
Thank you, Haris. While, please, your inputs.
Yes. Yes, I would definitely agree with Charlie and Harris on both points. Those are the major 2 points. Okay, you have smaller points, cybersecurity. We've seen a lot of attacks, but again, the government there is taking a lot of action. But the two major challenges that have been there for a very long time, but lately they have started to be addressed more seriously and more quickly, are definitely regulatory and the skilled workforce. So this is where the regulatory framework is very important from all aspects, from the aspect of the requirements for companies to be certified, or parts of bodies like the FIATA or IATA, and abide by the requirements, to the level of nationalization in the different industries. And logistics specifically is really labor intensive, so you cannot have a very, at least in the short term, you cannot have a very high level of nationalization in it until you build, as Harris said, the numbers in terms of skilled local workforce. So these are the major challenges. However, both of these challenges are being addressed by the government. There are different committees that are being set up. They're always meeting with the private sector to understand the challenges that they are facing and how they can improve the logistics environment. On the opportunities front, again, as Charlie said, they're endless. We'll see. You're talking about. We just mentioned the master plan that was just launched. I mean, when you look at such a master plan and being part of that gross plan, I mean, it can absorb a lot of players, and the cake is so big that any serious player that wants to play a positive role in this journey, in the logistics or the Vision 2030 journey, will have a place. It's very promising. The challenges are there, as with any business environment, but the opportunities are way bigger than the challenges. So this is where it's very. I mean, this is where again we go back to seeing all the global. Exactly. Regional, global, local, private equity firms, everyone is getting into the Saudi market.
I think we're lucky to be here now.
Exciting times. Yeah.
Definitely exciting times. Thank you. We'll take a few questions before we come to a closure. And my first question would be for Charlie.
Yes.
That is, how can 3PL companies adapt green logistics without impacting services rate to the clients?
Well, you see, adapting green logistics is a long-term strategy. It's not directly. You have to see it in a different way. Let's say, for example, the warehouse, as I mentioned myself, by applying this investment, in the end of the day, I'm reducing the cost. The cost is cheaper. By having the cost of energy cheaper, I'll end up directly, impacting this on my square meter or my, and Well is the expert in it. It will directly impact the cubic meter cost, because having ambient warehouses, the major cost and the differentiate between space and allocation is the square meter by the electricity bill itself, the energy bill.
Power.
So just imagine by having green, solutions like the panels or by the deliveries itself having electrical, cars. It's all about, it's an investment. For sure, it will impact positively on the client and what he's paying. This is it's no brainer. It's a matter of investment and strategy that companies will abide by it. So for sure, the impact will be positive, and it will reduce the cost. Correct me if I'm wrong, Wael. You are the expert here. We learn from you.
No,
absolutely,
for sure.
absolutely right. But I'll just mention the challenge here, while if you allow, right?
Please.
So the challenge is the scale here. So a big players, who wanted to take green initiatives, right? And they're operating on a larger scale, right? So when they invest, they reap the benefits out of it in the longer term. But when it comes down to the smaller players, okay, which are not, that much on the scale, this is where they struggle. Okay, so that's the challenge is still there. Okay, yeah, the fundamentals, Charlie, that you've discussed is absolutely fantastic. That's right. There's no doubt about it. But the scales is what matters here at this stage.
It has to start somewhere.
No, it has to start, absolutely. But imagine, a person, operating a warehouse of 4,000, 5,000 square meter, right? And if he needs to invest in solar panels, right? This is where the unit economics doesn't make sense, right? So that's where, people look into it, from a different angle of, increasing the rates. Again, rate is a subset of demand and supply in the market, right? And most of the time, it has got nothing to do with the cost, right? We all know that.
We need to see it. And the finance part, when you need to spend money, then here I have to come to you. That has to have a different level, as a finance. But as a business, really strategic decision, there is lots of initiative. Lots of companies are doing. If they are signing agreement, late one, I think it's one of the companies, they offered me, we are ready to do it on our own. You pay us. What's your bill now? We need to reduce your bill by 30-40% and pay us this fees.
Yes, absolutely.
Simple. What's your current fees? We're gonna come
They
to
will
you.
not pay fees. They will share with you. So whatever you say, they share, which is great for you. There is, again, the challenge that Harris is saying is anything green is usually capital intensive, and for small companies this is not doable. But this is where you're getting now the, let's see, if I can say it, green as a service. As you have software as a service, now you have green as a service. Or solar as a service, whereby they invest and you reap, both of you reap the benefits.
Correct. So everyone has his own way. If you tell me now I want to build my own warehouse, no, I'll prefer to go to a company like LogiPoint and have them prepare and set me my warehouse and pay it a fees. So it's all integrated.
Absolutely right.
It's a matter of management-wise. As us leading companies, sometimes this money is between our hands, and we have to take the right decision. What's the best, interest to all our stakeholders, internally, our investors, and where to use this finance. Myself, for example, no, I prefer to expand my offices around the globe. That's what I want to do, and I will partner with LogiPoint to open warehouses around the kingdom. It's simple. Which one is better for me? No, this is the best strategy. So, as you said it.
Yeah.
Charlie, I will be your broker for the deal.
You've always been there, and you know it.
No, I learned a very interesting word while what you just mentioned, that green as a service, that I need to utilize this for my Invex platform as well. Rather than calling it a SaaS service, I should call it as a GaaS service, green as a service, because this is what we are offering under Invex. That
you can do a separate royalty agreement with Weil now.
Yes. That's a separate altogether.
This is the first time I use this term. I just got. I mean, I just
Beautiful.
so I'll have to let
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Excellent, excellent.
No, while I will be the first one now to be using it, and I will give the credit to While Company.
خلاص,
Courtesy and credits to While.
that's a benefit from this panel, you see.
No, obviously. We will take one more question quickly. And that was, where is it? It was a fun question. Okay. While it's still trying to log in, then Haris, if you can take this question. What are the basic steps to improve logistics and conveyance to end user?
The basic steps to improve logistics is first of all, in today's times, I believe the technology plays a key role here. Okay, a seamless technology can help you, into integrating all the events of logistics, right? So to the end user, first of all, that gives the traceability part, that gives the visibility part. That's number one. Number two, from a logistics service provider, what's more important is of course the technology, the right set of people, asset, and the best mix of mind, right? That gives some sort of that gives the right production of service or the quality of service that the end user request. Now, when it comes to basic steps in specifically talking about logistics, because logistics is a very big field, right? I cannot make it a small one, right? So I think these are the basic steps which needs to be ensured whenever somebody needs to somebody's thinking of improving the logistics part. People, asset, technology, these needs to be there at the core of the heart, which eventually helps the end user experiences. So I believe that's
Perfect. Thank you. I think today we had a very good session, and we'll come to a close of that. While is there? Let me try to add While again. So again, I thank you for taking the time out and joining me in the discussion. I learned a lot, and again, my biggest takeaway is what Weil just said. Apart from all the logistic discussion, the green as a service, this was the golden point for me. So this was the golden point. So
There are
again,
many things.
No, for me, I'm
Green
talking.
laws. Yes. Yes.
For me specifically, I'm being very selfish right now. My webinars are very selfish-centered, that I want to learn from you guys, from the people that I connect with. So this is more of my learning, and then in that same go, I allow the rest of the people to learn from the experts that come on my webinar. So I am grateful to Haris, Charlie, and to Weil for taking the time out and joining me in this discussion. It was fun. It was good. We had some good points, and not just some good points, a lot of good points and good laughter, and we connected. And that was the aim of this session. So thank you again. A big thank you to all three of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you
Thank
so thank you so much,
Yeah,
and good to see you guys.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.